Long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by thick forests and streams that sparkled under the sun, there lived a young woman named Adanma. She was 7 months pregnant, carrying her first child with joy and pride. Every morning she went to the farm to tend her yams and vegetables, for she believed that even in pregnancy, a woman's hands must not be idle. One hot afternoon, when the sun burned fiercely in the sky and most people stayed indoors, Adanma set out on the lonely path that led to her farmland. The cicadas sang loudly in the trees, and the dry dust rose under her feet. Her wrapper clung to her skin as sweat ran down her face. Yet she pressed on, humming softly to the baby in her womb. Unknown to Adanma, the path she walked passed close to a stream of the water spirits, a place villagers avoided during midday heat. It was said that the marine spirits wandered then, searching for souls and unborn children to claim as their own. As Adanma walked, a cool breeze suddenly swept across her face, though the sun still blazed. The rustling trees went silent, and the air around her thickened with an otherworldly stillness. From the corner of her eye, she saw a tall woman shimmering like water, clothed in blue and silver, her eyes shining like a river at night. Before Adanma could cry out, the spirit spoke. "Woman of flesh, the child you carry is not for you. The waters have chosen." Adanma felt a sharp pain in her womb. She clutched her stomach, stumbling, but no sound escaped her lips. She tried to run, but her legs grew heavy like stones. The marine spirit raised her hand, and in a blink there was an exchange. The unborn child was taken, and in its place, a child of the waters was planted in her womb. The breeze ceased, the forest sounds returned, and the spirit vanished as if nothing had happened. Shaken and frightened, Adanma staggered home, telling no one of her strange encounter. Months passed, and when the time of birth came, the midwives gathered to help her. But what they saw left them whispering in fear. The baby girl was unlike any other. Her eyes glittered like seashells, her hair glistened like wet river reeds, and when she cried, it sounded almost like the rushing of water. Adanma named her Arion, but many in the village whispered that she was a child of the marine world. As Arion grew, strange things happened. When she played near water, fishes gathered and leapt as if greeting her. When she sang, even the wind hushed to listen. But her temper was dangerous. Whenever she wept, storms broke out, and rains poured suddenly upon the land. The elders warned Adanma, "This is no ordinary child. Guard her well, for she carries the mark of the spirits." And so, the story of Arion, the mysterious daughter of water, spread far and wide. Some believed she was a blessing, others feared she was a curse. But one thing was certain. The day Adanma walked that lonely path, her destiny and that of her unborn child had been forever altered by the marine spirits. Years passed, and little Arion grew from a fragile baby into a striking young girl. She was unlike the other children of the village. While others played in the dust and climbed trees, she preferred sitting by streams, humming songs that seemed to call unseen forces. Her laughter was soft, but her eyes carried the depth of an endless ocean. Her mother, Adanma, tried to shield her from gossip. But whispers traveled fast. Some villagers claimed they saw fish rise to the water surface when Arion dipped her feet. Others swore that when she grew angry, sudden rainstorms fell only on the compound of whoever offended her. One day, when Arion was about 7 years old, she followed her mother to the farm. The sun was high, and Adanma asked her to stay under a shade tree while she weeded her crops. Arion wandered toward a nearby stream, drawn by a strange pull in her heart. As she leaned over the sparkling water, a voice rose from the depths. "Daughter of the deep, your people call you strange, but you are ours. When the time comes, you will return to the waters." Terrified, Arion ran back to her mother. She clung to Adanma's wrapper, her little body shaking, but when she tried to tell what she had heard, No sound came out. Her voice had vanished. For 3 days, Arion could not speak. The elders declared it a sign from the spirits. Not long after, the village began to suffer strange misfortunes. The river that once supplied them with water dried up suddenly. Fish disappeared, and rains delayed. The elders gathered in the village square and declared, "This calamity is tied to the child born of the waters. Unless we appease the spirits, greater troubles may come." Some villagers wanted Arion cast into the river. Others begged that she be spared. Adanma wept bitterly, begging the gods to protect her child. That night, when all were asleep, Arion had a dream. In it, the same shimmering spirit woman her mother had once seen appeared before her. "Your life is bound to 2 worlds," the spirit said. "You cannot fully belong to the land, nor fully to the waters. But your destiny is great. One day, your powers will either save this village or destroy it." When she awoke, her voice had returned, but her eyes glowed faintly like moonlit water. From that day on, the villagers no longer called her ordinary. They began to fear her even more. Children avoided her, mothers pulled their sons away, and elders kept their distance. Only Adanma held her close, determined to love her child no matter what she was. But Arion's destiny was not something a mother's love could prevent, for the marine spirits had claimed her long before she was born, and as she grew into womanhood, her presence would bring both blessings and danger. For the waters never give without taking in return. The years moved like the steady flow of a river, and soon Arion blossomed into a beautiful young woman. Her skin glowed as if kissed by moonlight, and her long hair shimmered like wet reeds. Suitors came from far and near, enchanted by her beauty. But none stayed long, for whenever they looked into her eyes, they felt as though they were staring into the endless depth of the sea. Fear always followed desire, and whispers once again filled the village. "She is not of us. She is of the waters." Despite the suspicions, Arion remained gentle. She helped her mother, Adanma, on the farm, fetched firewood and sang softly by the riverside. Yet strange happenings never ceased around her. When she laughed, rainbows would sometimes arc across the sky. When she wept, thunderclouds rolled in without warning. One season, the village was struck by a terrible drought. The yam harvest failed, streams dried up, and hunger threatened everyone. The elders gathered at the shrine of the river goddess, pouring libations and sacrificing goats. Still, the skies refused to open. In the silence of one moonless night, Arion heard a familiar voice in her dream, the same shimmering woman of the waters. "Daughter," the spirit whispered, "the time has come. Your people will perish unless you return to us. The river waits. The waters call." Arion woke with tears streaming down her face. She understood at once. Her life in the village was nearing its end. The marine spirits who had exchanged her in her mother's womb had come to claim her fully. The next morning, she told Adanma, who broke into uncontrollable sobs, "You are my only child. Must they take you from me?" Arion embraced her mother, her voice calm but filled with sorrow. "Mama, I was never fully yours. The waters gave me to you, but they must take me back. Do not mourn, for I go where I belong." That evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Arion walked toward the great river. Villagers followed from a distance, whispering in fear and awe. Adanma trailed behind her, her wrapper soaked in tears. When Arion reached the riverbank, the waters stirred, though no wind blew. The river rose in waves, glowing faintly under the dying sun. She turned to her mother one last time, her eyes shining like liquid silver. "Mama, whenever you see rain fall after a long drought, know that it is my gift to you. I will always watch over you from the waters." With those words, Arion stepped into the river. The waters embraced her like a mother embracing a lost child. Slowly, Her body shimmered and dissolved into the waves. The river roared, then calmed, its surface reflecting the first drops of long-awaited rain. The villagers gasped as the skies opened. Rain poured heavily upon the parched land, soaking the dry earth and filling their empty streams. Crops revived, and the famine was broken. From that day, Arion was never seen again. But the people built a small shrine by the river where offerings of flowers and beads were left. Mothers told their children, she was not ours to keep. She was the child of the waters who returned to her people when the time was ripe, and Adanma, though her heart carried the pain of loss, would sometimes sit by the river. When the waters rippled softly without cause, she knew her daughter was near. After Arion vanished into the river and the rains returned, the village prospered for many seasons. Yams grew fat in the earth, streams flowed endlessly, and fishermen pulled nets heavy with fish. The elders declared, "The child of the waters has blessed us. We must honor her, lest the river grow angry again." Every year, during the first rains, they held a small festival by the river bank. Women placed flowers on the water, and men poured palm wine as libation. Songs were sung in Arion's name, though never too loudly. For while the people praised her, they also feared her. But not all were content. Some elders whispered that Arion's spirit still lingered, watching them with ocean eyes. Others said she would one day rise again, not as a blessing, but as a storm. One night, many years later, Adanma dreamt of her daughter. In the dream, Arion stood on the surface of the river, her hair glistening like midnight water. She said, "Mother, the bond between us has not broken. When the river rises in anger, call my name 3 times, and I will come. But know this, my return will not be gentle." Adanma woke trembling, clutching her wrapper. She told no one, for she feared the village would panic. Soon after, strange things began to happen. Children playing near the river claimed to see a maiden in white drifting just beneath the water. Fishermen reported that when they cast their nets, a mysterious voice sang from the deep, luring them to go further. Some returned with more fish than ever, but others disappeared without trace. The villagers grew uneasy. They built a larger shrine by the river and named it Arion's Rest. Offerings of beads, mirrors, and white cloth were laid there in hope of calming the child of the waters. But the balance between land and sea is never easy to keep. One fateful season, when the rains delayed again, the villagers forgot their rituals. They neglected the shrine, too busy with their harvests to honor the waters. The river grew restless. At night its waves roared louder than thunder. The banks overflowed, swallowing farmlands. Huts close to the water collapsed in floods. The people ran to the elders in fear. The oldest elder shook his head and said, "We were warned. Arion is not gone. She waits in the river. If we do not call her, she will come on her own, and the river will not show mercy." That night, as Adanma sat outside her hut staring at the dark clouds, she felt the same cool breeze she had once felt many years ago on that lonely path. She knew at once. Her daughter was near. And so the tale of Arion was far from finished. For though she had returned to the waters, the bond between her spirit and the land was unbroken. Whether she would rise again as savior or destroyer, only time would tell.